Wow, wow. What's up, fight fans? My name is Flyin Brian J. This is the Rearview Mirror UFC 212 post-fight show. Max Holloway just got done TKOing the greatest featherweight of all time, Jose Aldo, with 46 seconds left to go in round number 3. Before we get into talking about that fight specifically, I want to give out my WTF of the card. I mentioned it last week after UFC Stockholm. I'm going to mention it again here. Sometimes I give a WTF of the card to something that annoyed me, something that got under my skin a little bit, something that sucked. But no, tonight, UFC 212 was a fantastic night of fights. Fantastic. I mean, A+ for me, top to bottom. Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, all the way down to Davison Figueredo. Oh, shit. Oh, did I freeze? No, I didn't freeze, did I? Okay. Sorry. Amazing night of fights. I gave it a C from A to F before the night started, and I'm giving the WTF of the card to... I'm just shocked at how great the fight card turned out, and also secondary WTF of the card can go to Max Blessed Holloway mollywopping Jose Aldo. Whew. So let's talk about this fight. I want to look at some stats, first of all. Jose Aldo outlanded Max Holloway 20 strikes to 8 in the first round. Something that the commentators noted a bunch of times, and something that is like, why not do this guy? But Jose didn't throw any leg kicks. I don't understand why he didn't do that. Vavega Ben Sauna says that Aldo was tired by the end of the second round. Yes, so Max let Jose basically win the first round. And the second round was super close. 24 strikes landed for Aldo, 25 strikes landed for Holloway. But on the end of that round, when Jose seemed to be tired, Max started doing the Diaz thing, putting his hands up, saying, "Throw at me, bro," walking him down. He might have even stalked and slapped him. I'm not really sure. But from that point on, it seemed like Aldo's confidence was broken a little bit. And it seemed like Jose was a little bit fragile, even though Jose won that first round. When Max landed those 8 strikes on him, when Max would land a right hand, Jose would seem to be like, "Oh shit, what have I gotten myself into?" And yeah, third round comes out, and Max turned up the volume. The commentators were talking about it in the first round and also in the second round, that Max was not doing the normal thing that he does, was turning up the pressure with throwing a bunch of combinations. But then toward the end of the second round, beginning of the third round, he started throwing punches in bunches. Brian Stan said it. Max landed a left-right-left that dropped Aldo, and then basically the fight was over from there. Aldo showed a lot of resilience and a lot of heart for staying in there when Max was dropping some fucking bombs. Pardon me for cursing. It's just like, I'm jazzed about this. Dropping some bombs on him. Just bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb. Jose rolled over because he was tired of getting just beat down on his face. Max took his back, got the hooks in, landing strike after strike on his ears. Big John was like, "Move, Jose, you got to move," and Jose gave a thumbs up. Maybe he was hoping that Max would punch himself out, but wow. Jack Mooney says, "I called it. The third round would decide the fight." And I was right that Jose would win the first 2 rounds, and then it was all down to who won the third, but I didn't think Max would decisively win that third round, that decisively, sorry. A little redundant there, but wow. Impressive performance for Max Holloway. It was really respectful of him to say that he wanted Brian Stan to interview Jose Aldo first because it was his hometown. I think the reason why Brian Stan did not interview Jose at all was because of the thing that Joe Rogan kind of started. They don't want to interview knocked out fighters or TKO'd fighters, and I think that's good. And Jose, he's a real emotional guy. You could see it in his face before the fight started. He just kind of looks at the ground and he looks really stiff. I think he's real emotional, so he was probably crying. And I'm not looking negatively at Jose, but he was probably crying, and if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't want to do the interview anyway. But so good move for Brian Stan for just go ahead and interviewing Max Holloway and not interviewing Jose Aldo whatsoever. Really respectful on the microphone, Max Holloway was. He said that, I know Brazil, you have to cheer for your local guy, but you're fight fans in the end, and I thank you guys for coming out, and I thank you for supporting me. Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot to say at the beginning, consider me Hawaiian Brian tonight, because I'm wearing this Hawaiian shirt. Max just mollywopped Jose. Max is now on an 11-fight winning streak. I think that's like 5th all-time for winning streaks, behind the likes of Anderson Silva, of course. Off the top of your head, guys, Eamon Scott's here, Pedro Roman's here, Gary Henderson, Tim Soquena, Marcus Zachary, Billy Johnson, Zach Mooney, Casey Longboy. What's next for Max Holloway? Can anybody defeat Max Holloway in the featherweight division? Do not say Conor McGregor in the comment section, because that dude's never coming back to featherweight. And also, I want to touch on this quick. I mentioned before that I think that there is... Well, Mystic Mac basically was looming over this event. And if Jose Aldo would have came away the victor here, people would have still been like, well, you know, Conor McGregor is the legitimate champion, and Jose's just the paper champ holding the belt for Conor because Conor knocked him out in 13 seconds. Well, now, because Max Holloway whooped Aldo maybe as badly as Conor did, just in a different way, because Max doesn't hold the pure power that Conor does, but it adds more legitimacy to the title that Max is now holding, the undisputed featherweight championship. So really, there was, Mystic Mac was looming over slightly, or maybe even a bunch, before the fight happened. But now, because of the performance that Max Holloway just put on for us, no more Irish looming over it. Scott Poppleton says, wow, I cannot believe Aldo did not throw one leg kick. Didn't he throw one? But still, one in 14 minutes and 14 seconds. He threw one leg kick. And I thought that Max would be fighting out of the southpaw stance, like Brian Stan said, because the lead leg, fighting out of orthodox, is really open for Jose Aldo's outside power low kick. But Jose didn't throw one. Maybe he was too scared of Max's speed and countering ability. That's why he didn't throw them, because when you throw that kick, you know, to really get your hips into it, you drop your hands a little bit, then you're open on the side of your face. Maybe that's why, because every time Jose, or at least in the second round and on, whenever Jose would like throw a combination, even if it was a counter, Max was there first. So Max would feint, maybe throw a strike, even get Jose to counter that, and then get back to him. It's just, that was an outstanding performance. Stuart Mullins says, who won? Max Holloway mollywopped Jose Aldo. He got a TKO victory with 46 seconds left to go in round number 3. So can I use boxing at sparring now? I don't know, man. Aldo versus Cub, #1 contender fight. Right, yeah, Brandon Boggs, that's what I was thinking too. I want to say what I think is next for Max Holloway. I think it has to be Frankie Edgar. If we're just looking at the rankings, Frankie Edgar just went to a close fight with Jose Aldo. I think it was a 4-1 fight victory for Jose Aldo. But Frankie presents a different puzzle to solve for Max Holloway. And look at the rankings. Cub Swanson already got destroyed by Max Holloway. Ricardo Lamas already got destroyed by Max Holloway. Number 5 is Chan Sung Jung. He just pulled out of a fight against... Who did he pull out against? Ricardo Lamas, right, with an injury. So I think Frankie Edgar, he just fought a couple of weeks ago. I think he's easily the #1 contender. When does that fight happen? I don't know. You could easily see Max Holloway doing a quick turnaround, because even though it did look like he got hurt a little bit in the first round against Jose with a double left hook from Jose, I think that he's fresh. He looks good still. 3 months from now, we could see Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway for the featherweight championship. And that would be a fun fight. Really, I would really, really enjoy that fight. Korean Zombie versus Holloway, yes please. That's Jesse Payne says that. I would love that fight stylistically, but Chan Sung, you can't get a title fight. You can't get a title shot after beating Dennis Bermudez, and you can't. And he's injured, so he needs to do something before getting a title shot. So, a fight with Ricardo Lamas was going to make a lot of sense, but legitimately, guys, I think that Frankie Edgar definitely has to be next for Max Holloway. And it's kind of unfair for us to talk about this right now. We should let Max Holloway enjoy this moment, but, you know, that's what we do on the show. We've got to talk about what's next for these guys. Let's move down the card, but let me give... Did I tell you my grade? Yeah, I did. A+. So vote down below here what letter grade you would give it. Why are you guys giving it an F? Whoever gave it an F, I think you're probably just trolling me. What's next for Jose Aldo? Well, This is the second time in 3 fights that he's been finished. He probably needs to take a little bit of time off. And shit, how about this? Throwing things out here. Just, I want Jose Aldo versus Chan Sung Jung, the rematch, to happen for maybe a number 1 contender fight, perhaps when Chan Sung comes back from his injury. If Ricardo Lamas is going to still fight at UFC 214, he will take any late replacement. Then I say we give Jose Aldo, Chan Sung Jung rematch. That fight was fun the first time. Chan Sung, injured his shoulder. His shoulder popped out of socket, and I would love to see that fight again. Valab Surnath? Sorry, man, for butchering your name. I really do apologize. But yeah, let's talk about the co-main event. Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Wow. That was something, huh? So they come out. Karolina landed a couple of combinations. Claudia landed the bigger punches. Claudia got her patented double underhook, kind of throw you down, just extra muscle in her upper body, just really threw her down, and passed through Karolina like butter, man, and got that first round submission. And actually, Karolina landed 12 strikes to Claudia's 8, but doesn't matter. Claudia locked in one of the tightest rear naked chokes you're ever going to see. Really tight guillotine choke. Karolina waited to tap out a little bit, but she waited a little while before she tapped out. But as soon as Claudia's forearm was under the throat of Karolina, it was so far under there. Karolina wasn't ducking her chin at all, wasn't fighting the hands. It was just purely under there. She could have tapped immediately. She was going to be tough about it. She might have been trying to do a Holly Holm type of thing where she just let herself go to sleep. But in the end, she did tap. She cried a little bit, was upset with herself. I was a little upset with her, not upset, but I was disappointed. Thought that fight was going to be more fun than that. But at the same time, I was throwing a little bit of shade at this fight because in the last 4 years, Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Claudia Gadelha have had combined for a total of 0 finishes. So for Claudia Gadelha to get a finish here was big stuff. What's next for each of those respective women? I don't know. We're going to see Thug Rose face Joanna Champion again, right? But what else could possibly be for Claudia Gadelha other than fighting Joanna Jedrzejczyk? If she's just going to mollywop or just tear through these ladies, what do we do with her? I don't know. I would like to see her face Rose Namajunas just because it's a fun stylistic fight. Maybe Claudia Gadelha versus Jessica Andrade. That'd be fun as well. I don't know if those two have a relationship. I know they're from the same place, but anyway, impressive performance from Claudia Gadelha. Afterward, you would have thought that she was going to call out Joanna Champion or say something. She said that she's a new fighter. She says that this version of Claudia is going to be real fucking hard to beat, and she said the F word. So I'm just quoting her. I'm not really cussing for my own funsies. And then she said, Brian Stan was like, what do you want next for your mixed martial arts career? She says she's moving to Albuquerque. So I'm assuming she's going to train with Jackson Winklejohn. She's going to buy an expensive car and a fancy dog. So I guess you deserved it. You mollywop. I keep saying mollywop. I like that phrase. It's a cool turn of phrase. You mollywop Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and I think you get to do whatever you want. Karolina versus Waterson would be a fun fight. I agree, Jack. Book that. That's what I want to see for Karolina next. Give her to Michelle Waterson. But Claudia, who would you give her? Because Jessica Andrade, I think, has to be the fight for Claudia if she does not get a title shot. So let's go that. Yeah, Gary, cussing for funsies. Never heard of it? I curse for funsies just all the ding-dang time. Let's keep going down this card. Well, maybe quickly we could give out... Oh, man, Vitor Belfort and Nate Marquardt. This was a fight in which I think the judges got it wrong. And let me just tell you the stats for the rounds. Round 1, Vitor landed 3 strikes. Nate landed 21. Round 2, Vitor landed 16 strikes. Nate landed 26. Round 3, Vitor landed 19 strikes. Nate landed 21. Now, that's not the entire story, but it does tell you a lot. I know Vitor hurt Nate a few times, but Nate was throwing some kicks, some long-ass kicks, and was just catching Vitor's cheekbone with, here's my toes on my foot, catching him with that part of his foot right there on Vitor's cheekbone over and over again. seemed like he hurt Vitor a couple of times. They hurt each other. The fight wasn't as boring as a lot of people will lead you to believe. But, yeah, Nate landed 30 more strikes. I jokingly said that Vitor Belfort was going to win 29-28 because it was in Brazil. But legitimately, Nate should have won that fight 2-1. I scored the first 2 rounds legitimately for Nate Marquardt. But nonetheless, Vitor afterward, after he gets the victory in his home country, home-cooked decision, he said, Brian Stann obviously asked him because Vitor had been talking a lot lately about he's going to retire. This was his last fight. He said he has 5 more, and he's going to reinvent himself every time, and you're going to keep having to see Vitor fight. Dude. No. Nope. If we put Vitor in there with anybody who isn't super old or shop-worn, think about this. Okay? The fight before Vitor Belfort versus Nate Marquardt was Paulo Borrachina versus Olawale Bangbozi. Would you favor Vitor over either of those guys? Maybe over Bangboz, but I think Vitor gets wrecked by Paulo Borrachina. And Borrachina is not ranked. He is, you know, Vavega Ben Saunoa says that he loves Vitor, but Vitor should retire. I agree. Josh Rachel, Vitor Belfort versus Chuck Liddell. You calm it down over there. Don't say that. Yeah. Anyway, Vitor Belfort versus Nate Marquardt wasn't a great fight. It was more exciting than a lot of people are going to talk about it being because it was the low light of the main card. And even though it was the low light, it was still pretty damn decent. Going down, we already mentioned Borrachina versus Olawale Bangboz. So come out, and Olawale was just throwing heat. He threw a double hammer fist standing. He was just doing all kinds of goofy shit. And he was actually getting the better of Paulo. Paulo went for a couple of kicks, got knocked down. Not like a knockdown from concussive knockdown, but he knocked him down by getting him off balance. And then Olawale got tired after about 2 minutes and 35 seconds of action in the very first round. And as soon as Paulo, this is a little bit of solid fight IQ by Paulo. As soon as Olawale started being tired, Paulo attacked his body, kicked him to the non-liver side of his body, so the left side of his body, and then kept ripping hooks to his body, just vicious, brutal stuff. And then in the second round comes out, and he caught Olawale's kick. Bangboz was circling against the fence, just basically trying to stay alive. Threw a kick. Paulo caught it, took him to the ground. Huge ground and pound, took him out. Why was it a main card fight, though? I do not know. I think Gangbag hurt his own leg. Maybe. Olawale was doing some goofy shit in there. Why was it a main card fight? No idea. I forgot to mention, who said it? Josh Rochelle. I know that Chuck Liddell versus Vitor was talked about, but do you want to see Vitor talk about again? Too much muscle for Bangboz. Kevin Dobbins, Habib versus McGregor, if it's ever made, it's not happening, bro. It's not happening. All right, we're going to get to some questions. The rest of the card is pretty fun, but I'm going to hit some questions quick. He hurt his own leg with the second kick. I'll have to watch that again. Thanks, Clinton. Ryan Jensen wants to know who I got between Mark Hunt and Derek Lewis. I'm picking Derek Lewis. I don't think that... Well, they're a very similar fighter, right? They're in there to swing bungalows. Yes, Mark is probably the better technical striker, but every single breakdown for a Derek Lewis fight is... like, the other person's better than him at everything. But yeah, he still wins every single time. And I think that will continue to happen. So I'm picking Derek Lewis inside the distance. Main event fight, if it goes to the fourth round, those guys are going to be super tired. And I'm not certain that I want to see it go to the fourth. But as Jack Mooney says, Hunt's coming back too quick after getting knocked out by a brutal knee from Alistair Overeem. That's going to play a big part. And those... Lewis is going to have a huge reach advantage. I don't like the chances for Mark Hunt here. Okay, John Magdareog, I'm sorry, I'm just terrible with these guys' names, wants to talk about Assunção versus Moraes. He thinks that Assunção got a gift. I disagree. I scored the fight 29-28 for Rafael Assunção, and I could even see how you could defend a 30-27. Now, I did not give Assunção a 30-27, but I did give him 29-28, and here is my reasoning. Round number 1, they each landed 14 significant strikes, but Assunção landed at a higher percentage, and that flurry at the end of the round where he seemed to put Marlon Moraes out of balance, that won the round for Rafael Assunção. Round number 2, Assunção outlanded Moraes. It was very similar to the first round, but originally they had it with Rafael Assunção outlanded Moraes by like 6 strikes. So there's that. And then the third round was the one that I definitely thought Marlon Moraes won, but I could understand why maybe you gave the round to Assunção. It was because early Assunção hurt Moraes, had him on roller skates, was landing some really hard punches, and it should be known that even if they landed the same amount of strikes, the harder punches and the more countery strikes, you get what I'm saying, right, were landed by Rafael Assunção. And I think that's why he won the fight. He did not win the fight against Sterling. I agree with you there. Reach never stopped Mark Hunt. And yeah, man, it's just, I really think that Derek Lewis is going to win. And I could give you a super technical breakdown if I could, but it doesn't matter because every time you break down a Derek Lewis fight, it's, well, the other guy's better than him. Mark Hunt is a K1 kickboxer, highly decorated with his kickboxing, hits super hard, has more dynamic kicks than Derek Lewis, but Derek will still probably win. Maybe Derek will go for a takedown. Mark Hunt has minimal takedown defense. Derek Lewis could get him down, and that's really why we're talking about the next week's fights. Okay. All right, let's move on. Talk about Eric Silva versus Yancy Medeiros. Typical 2017 fight for Eric Silva. So Eric Silva comes out guns a-blazing. The first round was really good. He kept hitting Yancy Medeiros to the body, looking really good there. But the second round comes out, Yancy missed with an overhand right, and he ducked into it, and he came up with a really strong left hook that sent Eric Silva to the canvas. And then Yancy was putting in a little bit of ground and pound. I personally thought the stoppage was too early. He protested immediately. I did pick Yancy Medeiros for his second round TKO, so I was happy with the result there. Eric probably could have continued on, but his eyes did roll in the back of his head. He did get real concussed. He was definitely concussed, right? And then he wasn't really defending that well on the ground. He was eating a couple of strikes, even if he was purely awake. It kind of sucks for Eric Silva, but props to Yancy Medeiros. Do people call Yancy Medeiros this? The Hawaiian Diaz brother? They probably do. Anyway, it's fitting for him. Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Eric Spicely. This was an extremely fun fight, and it was almost purely jiu-jitsu, which is strange because there were like 80 strikes landed, but I think they were probably mostly ground strikes. So Eric Spicely, he goes in for a takedown, gets Carlos Jr. to the ground, but Eric goes in for like a real shitty takedown, kind of pulls guard, and he pulls Carlos Jr. into half guard, and then goes for a knee bar or a heel hook. And then they go into 50-50 guard, and that's where the majority of the first round was spent, just giving knee bar attempts back and forth. And it was really fun to watch. It was very intricate and exciting, and it was nice that Big John McCarthy let this action play out. Second round comes out. Eric Spicely does the same thing, shoots in on a shitty single leg, and then pulls Antonio Carlos Jr. into his half guard again. But then, I believe, I put the notes. Sorry, guys, I'm forgetting a little bit. It was a while back. Yeah, so then Antonio was able to transition to a better position than Spicely gave up his back, and then once he gave up his back to Carlos Jr., Carlos got his hooks in, rear naked choke coming shortly thereafter. A lot of respect shown for both guys, and he could have sunk in the choke a lot sooner, says Donnie Smith. I was surprised that Eric Spicely was able to defend for as long as he did, and maybe he couldn't have sunk it in sooner because Eric Spicely has high-level jiu-jitsu, and it was fun. The announcers were talking about how Antonio Carlos Jr. is a world champion jiu-jitsu player at super heavyweight, the world championships. Eric Spicely recently got his black belt. And so both guys are black belts, but it's really showing that there are levels to this shit, man. Antonio Carlos Jr. they were playing the same game, but Antonio Carlos, they were playing a video game, and Antonio Carlos Jr. was using a modded controller. You see what I'm saying? He had a burst rifle that it was a modded controller, so you could just automatic fire that thing. You know, almost an unfair advantage, but super fun fight. Johnny Eduardo versus Matthew Lopez. At this point in the night, it wasn't looking great for the Brazilians because we had 2 in a row where the Brazilian veterans lost to some wrestlers. Johnny Eduardo came out. He looked pretty decent against Matthew. He seemed to hurt Matthew on the feet, but as soon as Matthew got the fight to the ground, I put some notes on this one as well. Let me look. Oh yeah, Eduardo threw a naked low kick, and Matthew caught that thing, took it to the ground, and then Eduardo went for a heel hook, overcommitted on it, and was like really trying to wrench on it so he wasn't blocking his face. He was really trying to muscle in the heel hook on Matthew Lopez, and Matthew just pounded his face right through the canvas. It was a really impressive performance from Matthew Lopez, and like a really not great performance by Johnny Eduardo. Yuri Alcantara versus Brian Boom Kelleher. Comes out, Yuri Alcantara throws, well, probably like 12 strikes. Excuse me. 1 second. Thanks for your patience. Yuri came out, threw some big strikes, and he looked to have Brian against the fence. Or, you know, on the ropes. He had him on the ropes. And then Brian came forward with some strikes, pushed Yuri against the fence. Yuri went for a shitty takedown, and Brian locked in a guillotine choke. And as soon as Brian had that thing in, Yuri insta-tapped. Didn't try to defend it whatsoever, just, I'm in this thing, dunzo beans. And it was not looking good for Brazilians at that point in the night. Josh Rochelle says, Holloway versus Edgar. Yep, that's what I'm going with. I think that's the fight to happen next, and I think that it should be in 3 months from now. Moving down in the card still. Viviane Pereira versus Jamie Moyle. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't watch that fight. I was playing Rocket League at the time of that fight. I watched the first 45 seconds, and I knew it was going to be a snoozer, so I just went ahead and played Rocket League. Anyway, Viviane Pereira got a decision victory. Moving down, Luan Chagas versus Jim Wallhead. Chagas was lighting Wallhead up on the feet throughout the entirety of the fight. Wallhead was showing very minimal striking defense whatsoever. Chagas landed everything he threw at him, and he also dodged all of Wallhead's attacks. The finishing sequence was when Chagas missed a right hand. He missed, it was a jab. So he's a southpaw. He missed with a jab. He turned it into a back fist and then a left straight combination. Dropped Wallhead and finished the show with a rear naked choke after dropping Jim Wallhead. A lot of the European guys, a lot of European fight fans had a lot of hype behind Jim Wallhead, but as Jack Mooney says, and you guys should know, I'm not a fighter. I've trained jiu-jitsu a few times. I never plan on fighting. I don't want to get punched in the face. So I mean really no disrespect to Jim Wallhead, but he's not UFC caliber. I'm sorry. I think he got into the UFC because he had a big name in the regional circuit in Europe, but he's just not that great. Oh yeah, Ryan Jensen says the eye poke hurt Wallhead. I forgot about that. Brutal eye poke. His eye looked to be gonzo beans. So it's lucky he still has an eye. Chagas hit him with it, I think, midway through the first round. Didn't come back from it, but regardless, I still don't think that Wallhead is UFC caliber. First fight of the night. Marcos Zachary says the Rocket League is addictive. Yeah, it's super addictive. It's like, oh, I got to gold 3. Yeah, I'm going to get to gold 4. And then I lose a bunch. I'm like, God dang it. And then I got to give a brain a rest. Anyway, Marco Beltran versus Davison Figueredo Alcantara opened the night up. Davison Figueredo won the fight via TKO in round number 2. Oh, at the end of round number 2. Yeah, I remember that. So Beltran was winning a little bit early with lengthy kicks. Figueredo didn't have much of an answer for it. But Figueredo was able to get the fight to the ground, and that's where he was doing his best work. And he was controlling Beltran, and he was looking for submissions. Then when the fight got back to the feet at the very end of round number 2, Figueredo dropped Beltran with 2 stepping in left elbows. Yeah, stepping in. The first one opened a big cut over Beltran's eye and bleeding down his face. Landed the second one, and that's when Beltran, started going ooh, ooh, and then uppercut, boom, took him to Fist City, dropped him, and then the round ended. But the doctor stopped the fight in between rounds 2 and 3. So at the end of round number 2, officially, Figueredo got a TKO victory at the end of round number 2. Marcos Zachary thinks that. No, he asks, do I think age caught up with Aldo? Yeah, I think that's definitely the thing. And not only is he, it's not age per se because he's only 30, but it's a lengthy career. He's 26-3, and it's not just like he's been fighting 3-round fights to be 26-3. He's been fighting 5-round fights since 2009. He's been training for 5-round fights since 2009. So he was 16-1 at that time. Now he's 26-3. So 12 fights in a row were scheduled for 5 rounds. And a lot of them went that full 5-round distance. A lot of them were wars. Remember the second fight with Chad Mendes? The one with Ricardo Lamas was a fun back-and-forth fight where it looked like Aldo was fading there at the end. That's just a lot of miles to put on a body. And also, let's not take away credit from Max Holloway. I do think that Aldo looked a little bit old. He looked hesitant. He looked scared to get hit. The very first time Max Holloway landed a right hand on Jose Aldo, Jose, like I told you earlier, looked in his eyes, was like, fuck that. I don't want to get hit by that thing again. No, thank you. So a lot of credit is due to Max Holloway. I do think that Aldo is a little bit worn. Should take some time off. But maybe Max Holloway is just the real effing deal. I do think that he's the real deal. Now, I'm going to try to look at Twitter to see what the legitimate fight bonuses were. Actually, before I look, I'm going to pull it up. If you guys find it, you tell me about it. But let me give you my post-fight bonuses. Obviously, Max Holloway deserves $50,000 because he finished the greatest featherweight of all time in emphatic fashion. Very strong performance. It's in the main event, so 50 G's goes to him. I think, obviously, Claudia gets 50 G's. Co-main event, just cut through Karolina Kowalkiewicz like a knife through butter. Hot knife through butter. Joanna Jedrzejczyk didn't beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz like that. So $50,000 goes to Claudia Gadelha. I don't believe that I should give a fight of the night. There was some fun stuff, but I think that performance bonuses are more necessary here. I'm going to give a performance bonus to Brian Kelleher, Matthew Lopez, and then as I always do, I want to give an extra bonus because if I'm handing out WME IMG's money like it's my own, I'm giving a bonus to Antonio Carlos Jr. just because I loved that fight. It was really, really enjoyable. So let's go with that. All right, let me try to find the real... Okay, here, performance bonuses. Kelleher and Gadelha get performance bonuses, and fight of the night goes to Holloway Aldo. Actually, I'm happy with that. Holloway Aldo was a pretty damn fun fight. Man, you could almost give fight of the night and performance bonus to Max Holloway, but nonetheless, Max Holloway's getting his 50 G, so that's good. Kelleher and Gadelha nailed it almost. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't think there's anything else that we need to talk about. So this was a fun episode, guys. I can answer some questions. We can keep talking and hanging out. But before we do that, I want to ask you guys to please like my Facebook page. It is above you here in the title of this post. And also, please subscribe to our podcast feed. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google. I got an email that said we're on Google Play, but for some reason I can't find it. But SoundCloud, iTunes, Podcast Addict. We're not on Stitcher because Stitcher won't email me back. We're having trouble with our logins. YouTube, of course. I'll put this there as well. Just so that if you guys want to listen to this the whole time, or you want to listen to the audio only while you're at work or something to help you get through the day, help you get through a long drive or something, that's where you can find us and you can get the audio without the ugly, as Kid Nate would say. Jack Mooney says Kelly or Brunson. surely Kelly's run has come to an end in this fight. I can't believe that Kelly is on a run at all, to be honest with you. Thanks for saying that, Scott. Appreciate you. Scott said, for the listeners that aren't on Facebook right now, he said that I'm awesome, and he's wrong, but I really appreciate him for saying that. Dan Kelly versus Derek Brunson. You have to give the advantage to Derek Brunson. Remember when Dan Kelly came in and Sam Alvey just steamrolled him by coming out there and just swinging bungalows early? What does Derek Brunson do? Comes out there and swings bungalows. Derek Brunson is a pretty good wrestler, so Judo Dan's judo shouldn't be that effective on Derek Brunson. But I thought that Derek Brunson should be able to take down Anderson Silva and win that fight. Now, that was controversial. Nonetheless, I thought that Derek could do it, so I think he can do that against Judo Dan, too. He should win on the feet. He should win with the grappling. But for some reason, Judo Dan just has some magic anti-aging dust in his pocket, which is insane. So the pick is absolutely Derek Brunson via KO or TKO. But who knows? So what lightweight would be perfect for Aldo? Ooh, I got an idea. How about Anthony Showtime Pettis at lightweight? Because that fight was supposed to happen a long time ago as a super fight, and I would love to see that fight. I would love to see Anthony Pettis versus Jose Aldo at 155 pounds. Donnie Smith said a bonus for Vito Belfort. I don't think so, guys. Let's see what else we can talk about. Let me pull up next week's card, and I'll just go over some preliminary thoughts on it. So it is UFC Fight Night 110. It's happening at Spark Arena in Auckland, New Zealand. I don't know what time the fight card starts. It's probably a normal time for Americans. Upcoming events. Thanks for your patience. Okay, yeah, it's normal time for us. So Judo Dan versus Derek Brunson is the co-main event. Daniel Hooker versus Ross Pearson. Ooh, Ian Cutelaba versus Enrique da Silva Frankenstein. Oh, that's a fun one. Tim Elliott versus Ben Ten Wen. Oh, that's going to be fun. Tim Elliott's going to win, though, because he's better at wrestling, and Ben Ten Wen is willing to go into the grappling section with Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott is a really fun guy to watch. Really excited for that. What am I drinking tonight? So I've been doing a series called Beer Pairing, or Beer Pairing Suggestion with Flyin Brian J. And for this week, I paired UFC 212 with White Rascal by Avery Brewing out of Boulder, Colorado. And that's actually what I'm drinking. If you haven't seen those videos, I think they're fun. I'm aiming for 2 minutes and 20 seconds because that will fit on an unverified Twitter account. So we could put it on a Twitter account if we needed it to be. People's attention span is super short. I pick a beer that I think will go with the card, and I legitimately pick it for valid reasons. I love beer. I know a lot of stuff about beer. And I thought this was good for this fight card because wit beer, or white ales, Belgian whites, they were the second most popular craft beer style in 2016. And what I mentioned earlier with Conor McGregor looming a little bit over the main event, where the winner is basically the second best featherweight because of Conor McGregor, which I already said I reversed that. But anyway, I thought that because that was like a fight for the second best. Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz was like a fight for the second best, and we have the second best or second most popular craft beer style in the world. So I thought that was a really good pairing. And for next week, I could try to find an Australian beer, but really what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a thick beer that's a heavy hitter. So we're talking like a porter, a stout, or maybe a double IPA, depending. With heavyweight fights, I'm probably going to go with double IPAs a lot, but I really am thinking, what I would love to do, that would be great. I just had this idea. I had a beer recently that has Nelson Sauvin hops in it. They come from New Zealand. They're a New Zealand hop that give a Sauvignon Blanc kind of grape smell. And I would love to pair this event with a Nelson Sauvignon Blanc Pale Ale, because that'd be a little bit tie-in. Somebody asked, No, first of all, this is a Teku. It's a beer glass. It's the most popular beer glass in the world right now. Look it up, Teku. And I also do drink beer out of wine glasses quite frequently, but this is a beer glass. It's called a Teku. It's got this base here, so the malty liquid can sit and get wide, and then it tapers up to a narrow top because it's made for hoppy beers. So the aroma can widen out down here, so there's more surface area for the aroma to be released, and then it goes up top, and then it tightens it down so you can, get the aroma better. So I'm drinking a wit beer. It's not made for this glass. This glass is made for hoppier beers or made for Berliner Weisses, not for wit beers. But anyway, somebody asked who's next for Holloway, and it's definitely Frankie. The answer, Edgar. Look, man. Frankie just destroyed Yair Rodriguez, a guy with a lot of hype. And Frankie had super close fights with Aldo. Who would Frankie lose to that's not Max Holloway? Just off the top of your head. Who would you favor over Frankie Edgar that's not Max Holloway? Nobody. And the timing just makes sense. Frankie fought 2 weeks ago. Max fought today. I think in 3 months they should fight for the featherweight championship. Why are we talking about beer? Be a man and drink bourbon. I don't drink any liquor. My shirt looks like Connor. Yeah, I thought about that when I bought it too. Yeah, a little bit. Either that or Kevin Lee when he's trying to look like Russell Westbrook. Quickly, I want to give just what kind of grade I would give next week's card. It is almost all on Fox Sports 1. We have 2 fights happening on the Fight Pass prelims. We've got the little Dong Young Kim, the Maestro versus T-Bolt Goody, and JJ Aldrich versus Chan Mi Yun. Those aren't great fights. The prelims aren't great at all. And the main card is decent. Tim Elliott himself brings it up. Derek Lewis brings it up. I'm going to give it a C+ on paper. So, anyway, thanks so much for joining me, guys. I'll be back on Thursday. Well, I'm going to be doing my preview videos for the main event here and also my beer pairing suggestion. Probably tomorrow I'll be recording those or starting doing my research for those videos. And then on Thursday, though, every Thursday, I'll be doing a show called Fight Nerds. It's a podcast. We will say how excited we are for each fight on the upcoming card. Not necessarily give picks, just say how excited we are. Go over recent news and also something that I like to talk about called Geeked Out, where we go over just something outside of mixed martial arts that we've been excited about lately. Mine last week was bonsai trees. So tune in next week to see what kind of goofy shit I've been into in my personal life. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you. Really, truly do. You guys are all my good friends. Again, please like my page, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.